This week in comic books, DC gives us some light reading along with some more fantastic concepts happening in Task Force 7. In Marvel, we get X Force. Kind of. It's kind of weird. And also some light reading there as well. And in Independence, we get, I got my hands on a early preview, one per store of Minor Arcane. I'm not going to do a full review on that. I'm just going to kind of tell you the concept of the story in it. That and a few other comic books. But first, as always, I have to try to sell you some coffee. So check it out. Hey, what's going on, folks? This is your boy Pocan Joe to talk to you about Coffee Brand Coffee. We serve people that are tired of gimmicky advertising and branded companies that want to lecture you. At Coffee Brand Coffee, all we want to do is serve you freshly roasted coffee wherever you're at, whenever you want it. Consider Coffee Brand Coffee. Check us out, check our reviews out, and use promo code POCANJOE or the link down in the description to save yourself some money. Give me the opportunity to get you a delicious cup of coffee. All right, you wonderful weirdos. Thank you for coming by. Definitely, we're going to jump into this week's comic book haul and review for you, and we're going to kick it off in DC, where we talk about, that's right, Identity Crisis. So, of course, the title's a spinoff from Identity Crisis. We can argue if that was a good read or not another time. But in this one, you get about 5 lighthearted stories about the super animal, super pets world and how they kind of interact in the overall DC universe. And here we get a nice little team up with the super pets with this new Batwing dog, or Dogwing, I think is what we're calling them. 3-legged dog. They're a little on the nose when dealing with Gordon's daughter and everything, but okay. We also get a fun little tale in here about Jarro, the little wannabe Robin that's a clone off of Starro, about him being not only the hero in his own dream, but also a rock star in it too. And let's be honest, who doesn't want to be a rock star? And then some of the other stories kind of missed me a little bit when we deal with Drax, the cat, the Red Lantern cat. But probably the most funniest story in here was their parody version of the Watchmen, which was the Wolfman. Who watches the wolf? It was ridiculous. Dog, very cartoony. Kind of took the seriousness of Watchmen and kind of made it into kind of this kid-friendly parody that any kid would probably enjoy. So all in all, I think it was okay. Interesting cover there. I think it's a little messy, but for the most part, it is what it is, right? It's that cycle, the comic book cycle, and we're in the end of a 5th week cycle right now where it's kind of slim pickings. Moving on in DC, something that I enjoy and read and I kind of want to discuss a little bit is the Task Force 7 that came out this week. And in this one, the Amazo robots have been going after superheroes. In this one, they're going after the Justice Society of America. And the cool thing about the Justice Society of America is you got a lot of Golden Age characters in it, mixed with some of the newer characters and even newer characters that we've been kind of that they've been kind of promoting onto their team. So with that said, what goes on in this book is even more interesting because we're kind of focusing on Alan Scott, the original OG Green Lantern. And in this one, the Amazo robot, just to give you a quick synopsis, can drain powers from superheroes. So he drains Alan Scott, Green Lantern powers, into him, but also gets a little bit of something extra out of him too, the Starburst. So what is Starburst? I really don't want to go into it. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. But basically, at the end of the day, what happens is the Amazo robot starts to understand that it gets to make decisions all of a sudden in its programming. Because as he sucked into power, it kind of rebooted his system. Wakes up, now there's decisions to be made. Whereas most mechanical robots, computers, right, are very linear. Like you tell, even in an algorithm, you tell an algorithm what to do, and it's not going to divert off of that a whole lot. And in this one, the robot doesn't understand this whole new decision thing that it has to do. And Alan Scott has sacrificed himself to save the team, to kind of help explain what free will is and decisions and stuff like that. I thought that was an interesting concept because, yes, free will is more than just having decisions, and then those decisions generally get muddled with morals, ethics, personality, attitude, ego, depression, whatever the case may be, right? You can muddle up free will in a heartbeat. And I kind of hope that they kind of touch on that a little bit. I kind of want to see where that goes a little bit. The good and the bad of free will. Kind of definitely want to see that. I think that would be interesting, and it would be a different dynamic in a comic book that I don't think we can really say we've ever really seen. Let's cross our fingers on that. All right, moving into Marvel, again, to Lite Week. Let's go ahead and talk about what if Donald Duck became Wolverine. Again, you're at the end of a cycle. There's a little light reading, and this is very kid-friendly. So basically, this is just various Wolverine stories condensed, consolidated, and put in a very, very kid-friendly format. Kind of like what they did with the Infinity Dime with the Scrooge McDuck character. We did that with him in here. Problem is that the next one that's coming out is going to be Thor the Mighty Duck or whatever. I don't know. It just seems kind of odd that Donald Duck's going to be the focus in all this when they have a whole plethora of characters that they could kind of introduce and add into this. So, I don't know. In this one, let's see. Probably some of the more interesting things that happen. Goofy's the Hulk. I don't know. And Mickey Mouse is Hawkeye, which I thought that was interesting too. So, yeah, not really a lot to report on this. If you've read any series of Wolverine out there whatsoever, you're going to recognize one of the stories in this. And was it good? Was it bad? It was for kids. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, they get to see their favorite characters. So I don't really have much of a review on that one. Moving on, some things I kind of have I don't know how to review this one. I'm just going to tell you what happened. Let's talk about X-Force. So, of course, I went with the Scotty Young cover because my wife collects Scotty Young covers. All right, so what happens in here? If you don't know about X-Force, X-Force was one of those spin-off titles from the X-Men series. The original one generally had characters like that we've grown to love today, like Deadpool, right? And in this one, Deadpool makes an appearance, but he's not really part of the team. He's more of a hired merc. That's what he is. And here we get the character Forge. Forge has a very interesting history that I can relate to. He makes things, right? And then his teammates consist of somebody that thinks like a robot and can analyze anything inside of an area. They're super smart. So right now you already got two super smart people. Then you have two people that understand telepath type stuff. So there's a level of intelligence there too. We get a character named Tank, who's the muscle behind the whole thing. And then we just randomly throw Deadpool in there because I guess he's got a movie out. There's also a side story in the back here. There's some funny, funsies Deadpool story to add with it. In this one, I don't like the way this was done. And again, this is not a harp on the writers or anybody that may have enjoyed it out there. But my problem with this is that we spent so much time focusing on the characters and the building of this team. And then when we did add a conflict for them to fight, these kind of clay glob type monsters that had a larger one in charge of them, the ending happened like that. Basically what they did is they realized they couldn't really fight all of this, and this thing eats organic matter. So why not just throw Deadpool into it since he's riddled with cancer? And then they kind of did this kind of weird thing I thought was odd. They were like, it would be like he's just eating empty calories and he'll die. And I was like, oh. Here's what I would have done with this book. You have the team over at Fantastic Four that legit use real science concepts and things that are very easily you can go and check out. I think that team should have wrote this book. If you're going to have a bunch of geniuses in there and science is going to be the main focus, and then you want to throw in some woo-woo mind reading stuff, the science should have taken over more than all the woo-woo stuff. Does that make sense? Especially when you have these characters that think like a robot, or a guy who's just his mutant power is engineering. advanced engineering. You think you would have had some of those concepts into it. And I thought that would have been, yeah, a little nerdy. But then again, we're talking about comic books. So I thought that would have been a better fit. I don't know. We'll check out issue 2 to see if anything interesting happens in that. Either attack the personality of mine or hit us with some science. But this kind of in-between thing where it's just relationship building, I don't know. It doesn't jam with me very well. Something I absolutely enjoyed, though. Let's talk about Blood Hunt number 5. This is the conclusion of this series, and this is what I love about this book. And it's something that Marvel hasn't done well in a little bit. And DC's kind of hurting at it, too. The ending of this had actual consequences, meaning there's things that are going to spin off from this that just aren't a new character that's going to have some personal drama involved. There is something that will affect anything and everything that goes through it. So Blade's daughter has to attack the first vampire. Dad is the host of that vampire. And that goes off swimmingly. No problem. It was a little fast, a little rushed, but we have had such a build up to it. It was satisfying. And also the fact that Miles Morales helped. This is vampire Miles Morales, who kind of also helped her as well. So what's the conflict? What's the consequences of this happening? Remember, even good acts can spin off bad things. And that happens in this book. Because as Dr. Doom is working with the Strange Academy kids to make the magical woo-woo Darkhold spell go away and sunlight actually come back out, now the vampires are supposed to like fry and burn. But ta-da! Magic. Woo-woo. Always has consequences. They can survive in daylight now. This helps Miles Morales because he can stay a vampire for a little bit. But the consequence is all the other vampires can live during the day too. And who doesn't like a good vampire story? Especially these vampires. They were relatively cool. And also, the first vampire, his little elite army of just, they were kind of horror-based characters. They got away. So we're going to see them again. Probably be a while. Hopefully some good writers pick them up, do some really cool, scary stuff with them. Please use this series as a reference if you're watching this. I don't know why you would be, but if you are, use this as kind of the reference of the personality. Don't make it a weird change-all thing like you sometimes do out there. Please. This was good. I'm not going to lie. This is probably one of the best series I've read this year thus far. It's still early, but good. All right, moving on. Fantastic Four. I read these out of order, by the way. This is a tie-in to Blood Hunt. So if you remember the Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic and Alicia, a blind woman who's married to the Thing, is stuck in Madison Square Garden because they were able to adjust the lights. We're not going to get into that again. I did this already, where I kind of explained all about that. But it was super cool to push the vampires into the building and attack Mr. Fantastic, where stuff like this would actually happen to him. They can't bite through him because he's rubber, plastic, elastic, whatever. So the brief synopsis of this is that they, of course, the spell goes off, they get beaten, everything that happened in Blood Hunt happens, and then we get this beautiful thing. See, when Doom made a deal with Doctor Strange to take the Supreme Sorcerer Woo-Woo guy from him and claim it as his own, and endowed him with a bunch of powers with the kids from the Strange Academy as well. And the promise, the deal was, if you give this to me, I'll give it back to you when the world is safe. I love a good catchphrase. And Doctor Strange was like, all right. So after everything that happened in Darkhold was over, and we kind of reach over here, we realized, well, nobody clarified when that would end. So as far as Doctor Doom's concerned, the world is still in trouble because they need him as the leader and the Sorcerer Supreme as well. So yeah, so he makes a large announcement that gets broadcast on every channel everywhere, and of course the Fantastic Four look up and they see this announcement that he is going to save the world and humanity. Basically dictatorship, right? And that's great. I love this because now the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom can have that conflict. Now, granted, Doctor Doom is bigger than just the Fantastic Four now, but if we know our comic book history, we know that that rivalry is there. That's where the rivalry really is. So is Fantastic Four going to get on board and make this stop? I hope so. And maybe even launch us into a new crisis. I don't know. We'll see. All right, last. Again, I'm not going to do a full review and tell you everything that happened in Minor Arcane because, again, this is an early release. And if you want to know if you get an early release preview because you're shopping online or whatever, especially if it's the one per store issue, it's going to have the rounded covers to it. I've already kind of seen on eBay some people that have gotten their hands on this comic book and they're promoting it as the one per store. So just a little bit of a scam alert out there. If it doesn't have the rounded off corners, it's not the one per store pre-release. Just letting you know now. I could see it happening. I don't want it to. So this is done by Jeff Lemire, and he's heavily involved in this, meaning a lot of the artwork, the story, the whole 9 yards. And it's kind of in that Jeff Lemire fashion, especially if you read things like Fireflies in the last year, right? We have an oddball girl. We have a mom that runs kind of a psychic store, shop, tarot card reading type place. Girl comes home, is kind of embarrassed by her mother and what she's able to do, but people in the community do see value in what the old lady does, and apparently she's passing away. So the question is can the oddball outcast daughter kind of take that role and maybe it not be a big scam or fake? I don't know. You're going to have to pick this up when it comes out. I'm going to recommend it to you. Again, when it comes to Jeff Lemire, I'm usually on board for quite a few issues before I'm just like, I got to find something else. This is too much for me. But this, I kind of see me following through. So that's my comic haul and review. What did you think about what I picked up? More importantly, what did you pick up that I'm missing? Because I love a good comic book. And if I have to go search for it, I'm happy to. So definitely let me know in the comments below. And of course, I have one other question. Did you see Deadpool and Wolverine? Did you? Let me know your favorite part. I'm going to give myself probably sometime this weekend before I do a full review of the movie. But if there are parts in there that just gave you goosebumps or made you go, oh my God, please let me know in the comments down below. I'll be sure to try to address those if I can. Other than that, folks, I got nothing else. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.